Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is April the 6th. I'm just bringing you a video just to highlight why I think this is an economic war on China. In January, I had this video in the toilet when this first came out, the end of January the 25th. I came out and said I think this is to do with trade with China. And it doesn't matter whether this virus is real or not. The consequences of the virus is very real indeed. And I think trade with China is a big one. And if this isn't a damning report on China, I don't know what is.
I want to talk about something that is becoming abundantly clear during this global pandemic. It may have been lost in the early days in the fog of fear and confusion, but it's clear now that this is as much an economic crisis as a health one. And as the Prime Minister said, lives are on the line in both cases. Tragically, we will see lives and not just livelihoods lost because of the economic ruination that this virus has unleashed. Those who boldly demand that all workplaces be immediately shut down and the country brought to a standstill, possibly for months, typically have the least skin in the game. It's easy to be cavalier about other people's livelihoods when your job and salary are secure. This global pandemic has also exposed how dangerously underprepared Australia and the rest of the world is for a catastrophe of this scale, and how dependent we've allowed our countries to become on China for essential medical goods and pharmaceuticals. It's something Peter Navarro, the economist who heads the US Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy, spoke about this week.
Things that this crisis has taught us, sir, is that we are dangerously over-dependent on a global supply chain. For our medicines, like penicillin, our medical supplies, like masks, and our medical equipment, like ventilators. But if we learn anything from this crisis, it should be never again should we have to depend on the rest of the world for our essential medicines and countermeasures.
The world has stood by and watched as China has built a near monopoly on the pharmaceutical supply chain. In Australia, the situation is even worse than it is in the US. A recent report by the Institute for Integrated Economic Research found that we currently import over 90% of medicines, with a key dependency on China. Indeed, the report concluded that Australia is particularly vulnerable to medical shortages arising from factors outside our control. Even the drugs we import from countries other than China are often dependent on supplies from China. As Peter Navarro said earlier this year, China has managed to dominate all aspects of the supply chain using the same unfair trade practices that it has used to dominate other sectors, namely cheap sweatshop labour, lax environmental regulations, and massive government subsidies. Our dependence on China would be a grave concern even if it was an open democratic nation which shared our values. But as we know, it is nothing of the sort. The Chinese Communist government is a totalitarian regime that brutalises its own citizens and is an enduring threat to the rest of the world. It's time we treated it as such instead of turning a blind eye to its conduct and human rights abuses because of what seems like economic convenience. As the report by the Institute of Integrated Economic Research noted, Australian governments have shown a blind trust in the market approach to governance, risk and resilience. And Australia has almost no capacity to manufacture any active pharmaceutical products or most of the products listed on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. We simply do not understand the risk to our national security by focusing primarily on lowest cost. Once we are through this global catastrophe, we must ensure that we never again become so reliant on a destructive communist regime for essential medicines and medical equipment.
So guys, if that wasn't a scathing report on China, I don't know what is. Not only did she add that the whole world kind of relies on China for equipment and pharmaceutical, they have a monopoly on the pharmaceutical industry, which America probably aren't happy with. They probably want the monopoly. They're a totalitarian. They break human rights. God, there's so many things in that news article you can take out of that. It was an attack on China. Even though that Peter Navarro guy says it's like we don't want to be we don't want to be reliant on the rest of the world. In other words, he was talking about China. That Peter Navarro is a little creep. I've seen him speak a couple of times, and he's all hands, and he's always looking over his shoulder to look at Trump to get his approval. Almost looks like, am I saying the right thing as he looks around at Trump? But like I said, guys, whether this virus is real or not, that's not the point here. It's the consequences, the fact that we're locked up, the fact that people are losing jobs, and all these things that are happening around the world. And like I said before, in January, the end of January, I think it's economic war with China. And I think it's social control over the people. And it looks like that way to me, definitely. So that's my main reasons why I think this coronavirus is kicking off. And it started with the Hawaii 5G trade deal in Britain. And now it's accumulated to this. Anyway, people, just something for you to think about. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Thank you.